My name is Okwemi Richardson Owebo. You are welcome to Blue Bloom's Art World channel. I film on art and everything about it, and centered around children. I decided to make my first post a very interesting content for mommies and daddies. So mommies and daddies, please get in here. So my post today is on how a child's creative skills can be stimulated, motivated, and nurtured. There's a saying that inspiration does exist, but it must find you working. Pablo Picasso, a popular Spanish artist, once said, "Every child is an artist, but the problem is how to remain an artist once he grows up." The creativity in a child becomes so effective when he grows up based on how his creative skill was stimulated, motivated, and nurtured as a child. So depending on how that child's creative skill was stimulated, motivated, and nurtured as a child. Yes, Picasso said artist, but Picasso didn't mean that every child has to be an artist. He meant creative. So the child doesn't have to be an artist to be a creative. So I have a formula, an acronym for the tips I'm going to share today, and it is ERARA. I know it might sound odd or off, but it's very simple. It's an acronym, it's ERARA. And ERARA simply means E for environment, R for resources, A for awareness, A for activities, R for reward, A for appreciation. So I'm going to start discussing about the factors starting from environment. Environment is one key factor. We know that as a child is growing, the first space of learning, the first source of learning is the environment of the child, the home. So your environment is very, very important in nurturing the creative skill in a child. As a child is growing up, the child sees the environment. So what is within that environment is important. So your environment has to be equipped and well nurtured. And what do I mean by this? It means elements that will trigger the child's skills. Elements that will trigger the child's creative skills. For example, a child recognizes colors based on what he or she sees in the environment as it's growing. And that is why children of creatives like makeup artists, house painters, visual artists, photographers, they get familiar with varieties of colors at a very tender age. Why? Because they see these elements often. They see these elements in their spaces often. They have it in their environment. So to do this, we can set up our children's room with very interesting, stimulating elements like colorful books. It's always very important the child should have as small as it can be, as tiny as it can be. Even if it's 5 books, let that child have a mini bitty, tiny bitty library. So you can have colorful books, interesting books with pictures, nice colorful images, beautiful murals. The child's room setup is important because, as you know, the child looks around, colors, pictures, things stimulating the child's creative skills. Also, you can have colorful posters, wallpapers, and the rest. Now, yes, it is not all children that have their own personal rooms. So if your child doesn't have his or her own personal room, awesome, no problem. So what you can do now is introduce stimulating elements like paintings, simple photo frames, very creative photo frames. You can introduce them into your spaces, your sitting room, your bedroom. In fact, sometimes you can even have in your kitchen. And also, is still important. A subtle library. Books, colorful books. In fact, for the younger ones, it's always advisable they have books with more pictures, clip art pictures, cartoon pictures, and less text. And for the older one, yes, you could have more text. So now this takes me to number two. Number two factor, which is resources. Resources simply means materials. Materials. It can be any creative materials, any materials that you can use to create something. Now, one of the major materials you need to get into your space as the child is growing and as they are trying to stimulate the child's creative skill is crayons. For the younger ones, I advise wax crayons. But for the older ones, yes, you can go as far as a pencil crayons, some very advanced crayons or coloring materials. So other materials like other materials you can get are materials like pencils, erasers, drawing books, drawing sheets, or some other simple craft tools. I'm going to have a video session. I'm going to have a video I'll be posting soon on different art materials, and I'll talk in-depthly on them. So when all these are on ground, then the child gets stimulated the more. Remember, the environment is stimulating the child already. So when you now get materials into your space, the child sees the materials, the child gets stimulated the more. The child tends to want to express himself or herself. You know, it's like when you just sew a new clothes. You just want to like go out. That's exactly what the resources does to the child. The child wants to just express himself. All the things that the child has been able to store in his or her imagination from the environment, they will start screaming, "Let me out, let me out." The child just wants to express himself. This is why art is defined as the expression of human feelings, thoughts, and ideas, and the unique form in which these ideas are being expressed. So you have your resources and the child wants to just express himself. So after the child's creativity skill is being stimulated, remember, by the environment, the right environment and resources. Now the next step is the element I'm going to mention now, which is awareness. Awareness, yes. So how do you achieve this? Now this factor is the one that it doesn't only motivate the child, it also builds the confidence of the child. So awareness. Now this is where mommies and daddies, this is where you're fully involved. So involve your child in creative discussion. Ask the child questions, and also this will help you. As their parents get to know what they have in their imagination, what you have been able to stimulate, what skill they possess, what skill you need to build on. You need to help them build on. So as you're doing this, their interest to create, to do more, their interest to create solutions to task, multiple solutions, like creative solutions to task, increases. You tell them to do one thing, they tend to give you 2-3 solutions. They have homework from schools, they tend to give you, apart from what their teacher, the solution their teacher gave them, they are able to give you multiple solutions because you're stimulating their creativity already. So they have the urge, the urge in them to make increases, to express themselves increases. So from here leads me to the next factor, which is activities. So we said environment has stimulated their interest. It has built their imagination. You've gotten materials which also built their imagination the more. Now awareness, they are aware they can do this thing. Your question has also pushed it the more. So now in activities, they want to make. It's time to make. So the child has been well nurtured. So with all this, the child is easily get involved in creative activities. The child wants to make more. The child wants to make things. The child wants to make creations, like some children call it creations. So in creative activities at this level, please, mommies and daddies, allow the child, allow them to express themselves. Let them express themselves freely. I know sometimes probably the toddler gets to pick crayon and is scribbling on your wall. Please, at that period, probably you just have to allow it. And then you know that, okay, you set a time. You let them know, okay, it's not good to color on the wall. It's not good to write on the wall. Yes, but please, at that time, sometimes just allow it. And then you know you'll paint after. So allow them to express themselves. In fact, challenge them. Challenge the child. Ask the child questions. Probably the child tells you, oh, mommy, I want to draw daddy and I want to draw you and daddy. You can even say, okay, can you remember that day we went to the cinema? Oh yeah, just draw what happened. Draw your experience. How was it? Just draw it. And then in fact, I bet you they will mesmerize you with what, in fact, you'll be surprised with what the child would do. And when you challenge them, like when you give them tasks, it helps to build them confidence, and it also it makes them have that it makes them happy. They see it as you are acknowledging the skill they have. So and when you do this, motivates them. So after this one, we go to one of the most important factor, which is reward. This is the greatest part. This is the greatest part. We all know that a lot of times what motivates us the most is reinforcement. And for children, in fact, it is key. It is key. So sometimes your reward system can even get to make the child create that thing. So motivation, I always advise parents. For reward system, I always advise parents. For creativity, the best reward is books on creative processes, books on art materials. You can also get art materials, art tools for creating things. Now, yes, I know that sometimes, yes, the child might not necessarily want that. Probably you've gotten that for the child. So we can also explore other reward system, like a place the child loves to visit. In fact, we can include a place for the child. Probably take the child to a museum or a gallery. We could also take the child to a place the child loves the most, like I said the last time, a cinema, probably a park, and so on. Lastly, appreciation. This is the last factor, but it is also key. There's a thin line between reward and appreciation. There's a thin line between reward and appreciation. Yes, for reward, you are giving the child something. It's a reinforcement. You're giving the child something for doing something, for creating something, for giving a solution to a task. So, but for appreciation, what you're doing here is it basically uses your attitude. So it is your attitude towards the creation or whatever the child has done. And your attitude is very, very important. Under appreciation, the child's creation should be praised and be to serve a function. Don't just be like, oh, he made it and then you leave it there. No. And don't just be like, he's showing you and you're like, what did you just draw? I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, did you see what I drew? It looked, in fact, I couldn't even tell what it looked like. But no, in fact, you know the funny thing, if you take your time to look at it, you will see a lot. You will see a lot. Just like this, the picture up now is a child's creation. And if you look at it very well, it looks like scribbling lines all over the place. But if you look at it very well, you will see a lot in it. So don't just put their works aside. Praise their works and put them to use. Let them be functional. So, in fact, when people come visiting, be quick to talk about their creation. Tell people about it. Even call them to come talk about their work, to come talk about their creation and how they made it. This goes a long way. This goes a long way. So to stimulate, we need the right environment and provision of resources, that's materials. To motivate, awareness is created, activities take place, and the right reward system is utilized. Remember. And lastly, to nurture, we appreciate the child's creation, what the child has created, and make sure this systematic process continues. Let's make sure it continues. So let me just run through the factors again. Remember the acronym ERARA: environment, resources, awareness, activities, reward, and appreciation. Bet you won't forget. So we can see that it's actually very easy for us to make them creatives. It's actually easy for us to stimulate that creativity in them. It makes life easy. And when we have creatives around us, life tends to be so easy because the moment you think about a task, you have multiple solutions coming and popping up everywhere. So we can say that doing this for our children is very easy. It is very, very easy. So if you're doing this already, keep it up. Please, mommies and daddies, keep doing it. And if not, mommies, daddies, let's kickstart. Let's start stimulating, motivating, and nurturing the creative skills in our children. And I bet you won't regret it. In fact, even in school, it will help them. It will help them because art is a universal language. Creativity cuts across everything. So it will be easy for the child even in school. So please don't forget to like if you find this useful, and also feel free to drop a comment. Let's discuss. My channel is a very interactive channel. So let's discuss. Please feel free to drop your opinion in the comment section, and I promise you I will respond to every comment. So please, mommies and daddies, my next video, please get your children in. Please, it's going to be activity-based session, and I would the way I plan to do it, when I have an activity session, the following video will be a display of the children's work. So what I mean is that when I do an activity, I would want the children to make their own creation. Let them make their own creations, and they will take a picture of their creations with themselves, and then they will take a picture of their creations with themselves, and then send to an email that will be in the description below. They will send it to the email, and then the video that comes after the activity session, which will be the following week, I will have a subtle exhibition of their works, and I would have also a short review on each child's work. So that's the way I'll be having my content. I would have an activity session, then the following video I'll be having the following week, I will discuss on something, and then I would have an exhibition of all the children that submitted, all the children that sent their works to me. And I bet you this will also help to boost their creative skills. It will also help to nurture their creative skills. Mommies and daddies, let's do this together. I hope to see you next time on my channel. See you next time. Bye.